Hey guys, it's Lotus and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to continue on with our read-along of Guardian. Let's jump right into it. Chapter 23. In the few times they've met, Zhao Yunlan always felt Shunwei's restrained affection for him. But somehow, once Zhao Yunlan starts reciprocating, Shunwei acts like the monk from Journey to the West confronted by a succubus. He shuts down and starts clearing his mind. Zhao Yunlan has never met anyone like Shunwei. He's gentle and benevolent. He never argues with anyone and treats everyone with kindness no matter who they are. It's as if he's a gentleman who stepped out of a pious stories of the past, set in his antique ways. Zhao Yunlan can't seem to figure him out. Originally, Zhao Yunlan thought of taking him to a high-end clubhouse with a Western restaurant, the perfect place for a romantic date night, because Western food is fancy. But Shunwei would certainly refuse, and personally, Zhao Yunlan isn't a fan of greasy food and cold raw vegetables. It's not every day you get a chance like this, so Zhao Yunlan is determined not to let it pass. He puts on a relaxed facade and takes Shunwei back to the hole in the wall where he's already ordered. He amends his order by a bowl of wonton and a few popular dishes. Soon the whole table is filled with steamy food. At this hour, the shop is empty. They're the only ones there. Shunwei has yet to sit down, but he's already acting nervous and tense. Zhao Yunlan makes small talk and mentions Li Qian. She confessed to killing her grandmother. We're following the usual legal process. Her father disowned her, and I heard her mother cried and passed out twice at the trial. No idea why they let things get this bad in the first place. Let's hope the tribunal will be lenient. She turned herself in and confessed, so she might get a reduced sentence. Shunwei remains silent for a minute, then sighs. I should have taught her better. Zhao Yunlan is hungry and gobbling his food down. With a mouthful of fried rice, he can't talk, but he looks at Shunwei with an incredulous gaze, his eyes saying, "What does this have to do with you?" Shunwei looks down and takes a reluctant sip of soup. In the past, when a student committed a crime, the teacher was considered just as guilty. After all, the goal of education is to teach good morals, and yet one of my students... The rest of the sentence is probably not very pleasant. Shunwei pauses, frowns, and doesn't finish it. What kind of BS is that? It's not like we're still in a feudal society, Zhao Yunlan thinks. But of course, he wants to appear civilized in front of Shunwei, so he swallows that thought together with the fried rice. I'm just imagining Zhao Yunlan sitting there and eating, and he thinks that he's being real, cool and everything, but he's actually, like they said he's gobbling up his rice, so I bet he has, pieces of, loose rice stuck to his, face and stuff, and he's not really, his etiquette is just thrown out the window. I bet, I know that he's starving, so he's probably just, scarfing it down and probably eating a little bit messy, although Shunwei, of course, doesn't mind, because anything and everything that Zhao Yunlan does is just, heart eyes, you know? There's, a heart eyes filter on top of him. Although Shunwei has obviously been avoiding Zhao Yunlan the best he can, now that he's sitting with him, he doesn't seem impatient, but quite at ease. Also, Zhao Yunlan notices he's considerate and caring. When Zhao Yunlan's chopsticks reach for the same dish 3 times in a row, he simply pushes it towards him. He also takes charge of the teapot and pours them both tea. I can do it myself, Zhao Yunlan says quickly. It's hot, don't touch it. Shunwei evades his hand and pours him some steaming tea. You're eating too fast. It's not good for your stomach. Zhao Yunlan wipes his mouth and pretends to be delicate. Pretends to be delicate? I think it's a little too late, my dude. I haven't had dinner, so I'm a little hungry. I usually eat very slowly. Trust me. Shunwei smiles, and Zhao Yunlan sees an opportunity to keep talking. But suddenly, the table wobbles, and an empty bowl falls off. Zhao Yunlan swiftly catches it. A lamp sways gently above them. Earthquake? Shunwei says. The trembling stops shortly. Zhao Yunlan is about to speak, when abruptly, he's filled with an inexplicable dread, as if startling awake from falling 1,000 miles in a nightmare. Something is happening. Zhao Yunlan doesn't know what or why, but there's a warning voice in his head. Maybe the fried rice was a bit cold, or maybe the congee was a bit hot. After he rapidly stuffed all kinds of food down his throat, his stomach feels even worse than before. Once the strange feeling has passed, he feels like his insides are being stabbed by needles. What's wrong? Shunwei asks. Ow! Zhao Yunlan curls up, elbows slamming on the table. Shenwei supports his shoulder. Where does it hurt? Is it your stomach? Even though he's unwell, Zhao Yunlan still remembers to take advantage of the situation. He grabs Shenwei by the wrist and superstitiously grazes the back of his hand, not softly and not heavily, a little seductively, but not too obviously so, and says with a nasal voice, A little. You jinxed it. Shenwei doesn't know what to say. He rapidly withdraws his hand. I'll bring you some hot soup. Zhao Yunlan can't figure out whether Shenwei is shy or uninterested, so he sits upright with a gentle smile, pretending to be decent. But soon, karma strikes and his stomachache grows more severe. He can't help but curl up, and his forehead breaks out in a cold sweat. Of course, he still manages to stealthily call the waitress for the bill. Shenwei brings back a hot wonton soup, but Zhao Yunlan only eats a little, then waves his hand. He really can't eat anymore, even his lips are turning pale. Shenwei studies his expression. I should take you to the hospital after all. Zhao Yunlan forces a smile onto his face. This is nothing. Why would I need to go to the hospital? I have medicine at home. He tries to stand up, holding onto the table, but quickly falls back down on the chair. Shenwei's expression becomes serious. No, you have to go to the hospital. Zhao Yunlan presses against his stomach with one hand, and pulls Shenwei back with the other. They'll make me swallow paint-flavored barium, or force me to take a gastroscopy? I'm so sorry. Some type of test, which is worse than death. Please don't let them torture me. Shenwei frowns deeply. Besides, I want to take you to watch a play tomorrow. I've already brought... Return it. Shenwei interrupts him and helps him get up carefully. I'm not going. Excuse me, can I have the... Shenwei has yet to say bill, and the waitress hands him the receipt and change. These courting tricks. Shenwei glares at Zhao Yunlan and thinks, You deserve to hurt. Zhao Yunlan looks down at his shoes and smirks. Finally, due to Zhao Yunlan's determined refusal and resistance, Shenwei has no choice but to take him home. It's his first time in Zhao Yunlan's apartment. The lights are off, and he trips over an open umbrella. Winter in Dragon City isn't particularly rainy. The last time it rained was over a month ago. Only someone as lazy as a dog would leave the umbrella on the floor for that long. On the shoe cabinet is a bag of clothes from the dry cleaner. It was delivered 2 days ago. Shenwei looks around in the room. A bunch of clothes are scattered on the couch, and oodles of books and a laptop are on the bed. There's not even space to sit, let alone lie down. Shenwei silently looks at Zhao Yunlan, puts him in the only unoccupied corner of the couch, and starts cleaning up the bed. Zhao Yunlan curls up on the couch, painfully and happily gazing at Shenwei's beautiful legs. His mouth is watering. Even in pain, he has his priorities straight. Shenwei's legs. Shenwei's figure. I guess that will help him calm his stomach down, maybe? Who knows? Maybe it does help the pain decrease a little. Shenwei turns around. Where do you normally put these? On the bed during the day, on the floor at night. Shenwei sighs. He does that a lot around Zhao Yunlan. He swiftly clears the desk, then piles up the books there and puts the laptop on the nightstand. Come on, lie down. I'll get the medicine. Where is it? Zhao Yunlan points at a small cupboard below the desk. Shenwei says casually, Get in bed and take off your outerwear. Zhao Yunlan hesitates. If I take them off, you might say I took advantage of you. Shenwei touches Zhao Yunlan's forehead, which is covered in cold sweat. Shenwei can imagine how painful it is, and his heart wrenches. He'd rather endure the pain for him, but the jerk he's trying to take care of only knows how to joke around. Oh, the jerk he's trying to care for only knows how to joke around. It really feels like a waste of affection. Shenwei's face grows stern. Stop that nonsense and take them off. Zhao Yunlan doesn't hesitate any longer and rips off his coat and pants without restraint. Seemingly without a care, he stands in front of Shenwei in his pajamas, half his chest uncovered. Shenwei's face reddens in an instant. Zhao Yunlan shamelessly shows off his physique. You told me to take them off. Shenwei swiftly looks away, fluffs up the pillow, and spreads out the rolled-up duvet. Give me the cup. I'll help you pour. Zhao Yunlan, why are you barefooted? When Zhao Yunlan sits on the bed and takes off his shoes, Shenwei sees his freezing feet. Zhao Yunlan says dismissively, I was just going out for a quick meal. If I wore socks, I'd have to wash them. Shenwei grips his feet, and even though his hands are cold, they're still much warmer in comparison. Zhao Yunlan startles and tries to pull away, but Shenwei holds on tightly and starts massaging an acupoint. No, wait, I haven't washed my feet, ah! Do you realize it's painful? Now do you realize it's painful? Shenwei frowns. You never take care of yourself. Your bad habits give you a weak stomach, and you... He suddenly realizes his tone is too intimate and lowers his head and shuts up. Zhao Yunlan's feet hurt so much they're starting to feel numb, but he must keep his cool in front of Shenwei, so he swallows the profanities and pretends to be calm. Miraculously, his feet start warming up and relaxing, and Shenwei puts them under the duvet. Wow! On their first date, Zhao Yunlan gets a foot massage from Shenwei. Foot massages are kind of intimate, you know? That's really intimate, wow. And Shenwei's the one that initiated too. Like, he got Zhao Yunlan flustered. Shenwei hands him the medicine, pours him a cup of warm water, and watches him swallow it down. For a while, they have nothing to say. The atmosphere becomes rather awkward. Zhao Yunlan's pajamas really suit his wonton self. There are only a handful of buttons, and the collar is open all the way down to below his breastbone. He presses his hand against his stomach, so Shenwei can just see his beautiful abs. He forces himself to turn away and start inspecting the room. He sees the leftover bread packaging in the rubbish bin and asks, What did you eat today? Zhao Yunlan lies back on the bed and points at the bin. Only that? For the entire day? Shenwei's face darkens. What about last night? Last night I went out with some friends. We drank a lot. I don't remember. Shenwei almost can't control his anger. He stews in silence for half a minute and forces himself to lower his voice so that he doesn't sound too furious. You live like this every day? Yeah, so what? Shenwei shoots him a dark look and wordlessly walks over to the kitchen. He opens the fridge and stares at all the empty space inside. Then he takes out an expired carton of milk and half a bag of opened cat food. Shenwei feels he's about to lose his temper with Zhao Yunlan. Veins are popping up on the back of his hand, and he's clutching the refrigerator door so hard it squeaks. End of chapter 23. Wow, Shenwei, that's kind of hot. He's like, you can see the veins in his hands and his arms, his forearms. Wow. Zhao Yunlan would definitely think that's hot. So, to recap chapter 23, Zhao Yunlan had just saved Shenwei from a robbery in the previous chapter, so he invites Shenwei out for some dinner, like a quick dinner. So, during their dinner, Zhao Yunlan is trying to flirt. Shenwei is being kind of closed up about it, but then Zhao Yunlan suddenly gets a stomach ache. His gastrointestinal condition is starting to act up, and he starts to not feel well. So Shenwei rushes him back to his apartment, and then Shenwei comes in, and he's literally that meme that's like, "Damn, you live like this." He's looking around Zhao Yunlan's apartment. There's things everywhere. His bed is cluttered with stuff. There's so much expired food in the fridge. He hasn't eaten anything yesterday. He's like a mess. But of course, Shenwei is not deterred by that. It just actually makes him more motivated to pamper and take care of Zhao Yunlan even more. And to the point that Zhao Yunlan even gets flustered. Like, Shenwei initiated a foot massage, and Zhao Yunlan's like, wait, I didn't wash my feet yet. And Shenwei's like, shut up. Let me have this moment. I gotta take care of you since you can't take care of yourself. Which is so romantic. Honestly, Shenwei's probably thinking, bruh, I purposely left you alone because I was worried that me entering your life would make your life worse. But it looks like you're doing a good job of killing yourself on your own. If I don't step up, then how are you gonna survive without me? Which is true. Zhao Yunlan really needs a caretaker. So, Shenwei, the position is open if you would like to apply for it permanently. Anyway, let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 24. Finally, after a thorough search, Shenwei finds a pack of instant egg drop soup that hasn't yet expired. Apart from water and medication, it is the only edible item in Zhao Yunlan's disastrous apartment. Zhao Yunlan produces a cigarette and peeks at Shenwei puttering around in the kitchen, a naughty smile on his face. Who knows what he's imagining? He's probably thinking, wow, this guy would make a perfect wife. He wants to wife Shenwei, essentially. Little does he know that he ends up becoming the wife later. Shenwei strides over, calmly takes the cigarette out of his mouth, and twists it out in the ashtray. He slams the soup on the nightstand. Eat. Zhao Yunlan blinks, silently picks up the bowl, and ponders while sipping. Professor Shen doesn't even get mad when mugged in the street, but he does with Zhao Yunlan. He considers this for a while, then decides that it is clearly because he's handsome and Shenwei is falling for him. Sure, Zhao Yunlan, sure. Shenwei has no idea how much Zhao Yunlan multitasks. Even while sipping soup, he finds time to be vain. Shenwei gets more and more irritated by Zhao Yunlan's apartment. He wonders how a human can live like this. Even a prisoner about to get executed can have one last meal before he goes. What sane person would starve himself like that? He looks at Zhao Yunlan and suspects that if he died, no one would come to collect his body. Oof. Abruptly, he says, Officer Zhao, you're not young anymore, and you've got a stable job. It's time for you to get a girlfriend and start a family. It's better to have someone to take care of you. Zhao Yunlan instantly chokes on the MSG-laden egg drop soup, nearly coughing his lungs up. Shenwei's hand twitches nervously. He lowers it and hides it behind his back, clenching his fist tightly. Zhao Yunlan never anticipated Shenwei would say something like that, and it takes his startled brain a while to catch up. Eventually, he thinks of a plan and puts the bowl on the nightstand. He decides that his best bet is to show his hand in order to attract sympathy. Don't tell me you haven't realized I'm chasing after you! Zhao Yunlan intentionally speaks slowly and softly, unhurriedly. He raises his head to glance at Shenwei's face, and finally lets his eyes rest on Shenwei's tensed-up body. From Shenwei's point of view, it looks like Zhao Yunlan is disappointed. If he was already looking worn out, he's now looking even more depressed. Shenwei feels as if a fist is crushing the softest spot on his heart. Zhao Yunlan sneaks a peek at his reaction and feels smug, but he continues to act upset, waving feebly while concealing a smirk. Then, never mind. Thanks for today. I'm fine now. You can go. He's trying to play the reverse psychology card. He's like, oh, I see you're not interested in me. Then you may leave. Knowing that Shenwei of course is gonna have to make the next move. Will he take the bait, or will he back up? Zhao Yunlan is already planning to throw himself at Shenwei if he comes close, and has even chosen the best lines for the purpose. But unexpectedly, Shenwei stays silent. After a long time, long enough that he can't help but want to take another peek, Shenwei says hoarsely, Then please rest well. With that, Shenwei runs off without looking back. Oh my gosh! Wow, he really just ditched him. Okay, Zhao Yunlan is speechless. What the hell? What went wrong with the plan? I don't know, Zhao Yunlan. Maybe you scared him off? Zhao Yunlan puzzles at it for ages. He slams his head on the pillow, unable to express his feelings in words. Finally, in a daze, he takes out a calendar and turns to today's horoscope. It reads, Avoid marriage. So he heartbrokenly blames it on fate. It feels like a dried steam bun is stuck in his throat, choking him. No longer in the mood for any entertainment, he switches off the lights and rolls over to sleep. It's almost midnight. The streets become quiet, and apartment lights turn off one by one. There are hardly any cars passing by on the streets. Even the occasional gleam of headlights is kept out by the heavy curtains. The moment the hour and minute hands meet, Zhao Yunlan's wristwatch buzzes softly, and his eyes instantly snap open despite his seemingly deep slumber. Suddenly, the sound of wooden clappers echoes through the oppressive darkness, emerging out of thin air and disappearing again into nothing. The noise is getting closer, and a bland male voice speaks, prolonging every syllable. Every word clearly sounds in Zhao Yunlan's ears. The person chants as if at a funeral. Make way for the underworld messenger. Living souls retreat. Afterwards, the clappers sound 3 more times. The curtains, shut all day, part slightly on their own, showing ice crystals forming on the window pane. A flickering white light glints through the gaps, waiting quietly outside the window. Zhao Yunlan sits up, tidies his clothes, and calls out, Please come in. The window unlatches with a creaking sound and opens itself. A breeze brings a bitter chill, and Zhao Yunlan's skin tingles with goosebumps. A black shadow holding a white paper lantern floats outside the 16th floor window. That shadowy person is also made of paper, as tall as a regular human. Its white paper face has lifeless eyes painted on it, and its giant frightening mouth extends above the cheekbones. It could take on old Wu from number 4 Bright Avenue in a beauty contest. Zhao Yunlan opens the lowest drawer in the nightstand and takes out a pottery tray, some paper money, and incense. He takes the money and incense and puts them into the tray and nods respectfully. Just a little token of respect, Your Honor. What urgent matter brings you here? The paper person twitches its mouth stiffly, grateful for the bribe. People of high status and power among the living never pay their respects to the messengers of the underworld, but the guardian of this generation is different. Even if he forgets the most important matters, he never forgets a little tribute. The paper person cups its hands in front of its chest and says politely, "When the hungry ghost escaped, the king of the underworld was furious. His Majesty ordered a thorough investigation of the 3 worlds, and now all living, dead, and condemned souls have been recorded in this book, and merged with the book of life and death. This humble servant has been especially ordered to present the guardian with a copy." The paper person courteously offers up a black notebook to Zhao Yunlan with both hands. It looks like a normal notebook, and the cover feels like soft leather, but it's incredibly light as just a few sheets of paper. Zhao Yunlan rubs the paper lightly and sniffs the pages. Mulberry paper and sea dragon ink. It's the book of life and death and the record of virtue, with a soul-seeking talisman stuck on it, right? The paper messenger says calmly, "You have keen eyes, Lord Guardian. Presumably there is no need for this lowly one to explain what it can do. If you get someone's name in horoscope readings," Zhao Yunlan says, "or a strand of their hair, you can see into their past life and afterlife." As Zhao Yunlan speaks, he casually flips through the notebook, and a piece of paper falls out. Huh? An arrest order? It's an empty piece of rice paper, but as it touches Zhao Yunlan's hand, a cloud of black mist oozes out. In the mist, a face emerges. It's a hunchbacked humanoid with an enormous bald head, laden with tumors, the same as the monster that was executed by the Ghost Slayer. Zhao Yunlan remains expressionless and asks, "What's this?" The underworld messenger says, "This creature is humanoid but not human. We call it a demon beast. It speaks human language, but is violent and ferocious. It preys on human flesh and souls. If you see one, Lord Guardian, please be careful and kill it as soon as possible. It's afraid of fire and light." A demon beast? The underworld messenger babbles on, but doesn't mention where the beast comes from, what its nature is, or why it must be killed. Zhao Yunlan is rather intrigued by the humanoid but not human description. He turns around, nonchalantly puts the arrest order back into the notebook, and adds a handful more paper money notes into the tray. He smiles sweetly. "Sorry to have troubled you." The underworld messenger bows, and the flames leap up into the tray. In an instant, the paper money burns to ashes. The messenger rolls up its sleeves, and the ashes of the incense and paper money disappear without a trace. Contentedly, the paper person says, "This humble servant must take his leave." The white paper lantern flickers, and the underworld messenger disperses like the wind, but it does not forget to politely lock the window and shut the curtains. The Ghost Slayer, the 4 mystical artifacts, a demon beast, and the master behind all this. Zhao Yunlan lies in bed struggling to fall asleep. He forgets about being upset from the rejection and entertains a million speculations of causes and effects. The night darkens and his thoughts deepen. He suddenly has a sense of foreboding. Zhao Yunlan is wide awake all night. Later, he feels unwell again and takes another round of medicine. With his bad lifestyle, he has accumulated a lot of health problems like chronic gastritis and an ulcer, and he's used to them bothering him once in a while. Hence, when the doorbell shrills at 7 o'clock in the morning, Zhao Yunlan is so sleep deprived that he's like a rabid dog. A rabid dog, as its name suggests, is insane. It'll bite anyone. Zhao Yunlan struggles to get out of bed, joints cracking, his whole body sore. He stumbles painfully forward, clutching at his stomach, already imagining how he'll torture whoever is bothering him in 1,000 gruesome ways. But when he opens the door, he sees Shunwei carrying some big bags. Zhao Yunlan is mesmerized for 2 seconds, and then quickly tries to drop the mad dog look and replace it with a smile as bright as a new spring. But since his brain isn't functioning properly, His expression is awkwardly trapped between eating you alive and Happy New Year. It's difficult to describe. So he has like a maniac smile right now? Is that what it's supposed to look like? But if it must be put into words, perhaps it can be said that he looks like the New Year monster. End of chapter 24. Oh, okay, what a great way to end the chapter. Okay, so to recap chapter 24, Zhao Yulan decides to try to put some moves on Shen Wei and trying to confess to him and stuff. And he's like, he tries to use reverse psychology on Shen Wei, saying, well, I like you, but if you're not interested, then you can go, I guess. And Shen Wei's like, have a nice night, bye. And Zhao Yulan's like, wait, what did I do wrong? But that's okay. Shen Wei didn't actually run because he actually comes back the next morning with a bag full of groceries. Wow, he went shopping. He went grocery shopping for Zhao Yulan's kitchen. What's next? He's gonna become his personal cook? Maybe. Because you know that Zhao Yulan himself can't cook. He really can't cook. Also, Zhao Yulan has a important nighttime meeting with the underworld messenger. He receives a book of life and death, and I wonder what he's going to use it for. He also has a warrant to kill a humanoid beast. So he's also wondering why it must be killed. But the messenger doesn't tell him anything, so Zhao Yulan's going to have to do some digging on his own. What is he going to use the book for? Is he going to check Shen Wei's name, maybe? He just needs Shen Wei's horoscope, and then he'll be on his way to figuring out if Shen Wei is alive or dead. Will Shen Wei realize what Zhao Yulan is up to? Probably, because Zhao Yulan is really not discreet about his actions. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's reading, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!